In the middle of January, the mail brought my house a year-end mortgage statement for a condo I have never set foot in, and the loan had two names on it, my wife's and a man's I did not know. Nobody called me, and nobody slipped up. The bank was just doing its January paperwork. By summer, the man on that statement wrote me a check for $35,000, and my wife is the reason he had to. But in January, all I had was an envelope. I worked the docks at the port, 20 years on the container terminal, nights some months, days the others. My wife sells houses. She got her license the year our daughter started school, and by the time our daughter left for college, some years the house money was half hers. Her commission years bought the boat trailer and our daughter's first car, and my port checks paid the mortgage, and it worked. The boat is the one thing all three of us loved at the same time, and our daughter learned to swim off the back of it. We had been married 16 years. Our daughter is 19, away at school, and she calls her mother every day and me every Sunday. 4 years ago, we refinanced the house to redo the roof and knock out the last of her car loan. The mortgage man who set it up was quick about it, and I never thought about him again. The Saturday the statement came, my wife was working an open house. I brought the mail in, and one envelope had a plastic window, and through the window it said, "Year-end escrow analysis," above an address that was not ours. It was addressed to her from a bank I was not aware of. I opened her mail. Inside was a loan statement for a condo in a town an hour south of us. My first thought was, this is a client thing. Realtors end up on other people's paperwork, investors, estates, something normal that I just did not understand. That thought lasted until the second page, where the borrower signed. Next to her name was the signature I have watched her make for 16 years. 12 payments last year, everyone on time. Taxes paid out of escrow, insurance paid out of escrow, a balance with 28 years left on it, and two borrowers, my wife and a man. That night, she came home with a bottle of wine for a listing she landed, and she told me about a couple who could not make up their minds, and I listened, and the envelope was in the trunk of my car, under the jack. After she went to bed, I sat in the driveway and looked up the address on the county website, because property records are public, and the deed came up in half a minute, recorded 2 years ago. Her name and his name, joint owners. Then I went into the garage, to the cabinet where we keep our own house papers, and I pulled the refinance folder because I knew I had seen the man's name somewhere before. His business card was stapled inside the front cover. The man who did our refinance owned a condo with my wife. I felt sick. Before I went up, I logged into our joint savings and went back through the statements month by month, the way I check a manifest. There were transfers going back more than 3 years, 500 here, 800 there, 3 and 4 of them a month, everyone labeled out to her business account. I had seen those transfers 100 times and never blinked, because her business account pays for signs and photographers and license fees, and money moving to it looked like her job. She has done the family book since she got her license, and I signed where she pointed. I could not tell that night what the transfers had bought. We kept a rule on that account for 19 years, from the week our daughter was born. The balance never goes under $30,000. The balance that night was $8,000 and change. I put the folder back exactly where it lived, and I went up to bed, and she was asleep with her phone charging on her side. Her job explained everything. The Sunday before the envelope came, she spent the afternoon showing a condo to a retired couple, and at dinner, she went on about how the buyer's wife loved the balcony and the husband hated the monthly fees, and I remember laughing about it with her. Closings can sometimes run longer than normal. Buyers want to see a house at 8 at night. The continuing education weekends, the license renewals, the office awards dinner that went well into the night. I never checked one word of it, because half of it came with a commission check and the checks were big and real. On my next day off, I drove the hour south. The address was a small brick building with balconies and a parking lot in the back. Her car was in the lot at 2 in the afternoon. She had told me that morning she had a closing. I did not park. I drove past it once, and I drove home, and that was the last time I ever went near the place. Just out of curiosity, I took a personal day and went to see a lawyer. He has been doing divorce work in this county a long time, and he went over the escrow statement and then the deed printout, and then he set both pages down. He said, "Do you understand what you are holding?" I said, "Proof she is cheating." He said, "Better. Proof she is cheating and proof of where the money went." Then he told me how it works here. In this state, cheating is grounds all by itself. No waiting period, no separation clock. We can file this week. And when you file on adultery here, you do not just name your wife, you name the man. He goes on the papers as what they call a co-respondent, and he gets served personally, same as her. I asked what that does. He said, legally, it makes him part of the case, and we can subpoena records straight out of his hands. Practically, it means the man cannot hide behind her while his name stays clean. Then he came to the money and he slowed down. The condo was bought 2 years ago during the marriage. In this state, it does not matter whose name is on a deed. Anything bought during the marriage with marital money is marital property, and I had worked 20 years for every dollar that ever touched our accounts. He said, somewhere there is a down payment, and I would bet my license it did not come from the man's pocket alone. And one more thing, he said, do not expect the affair to move the alimony, because that is not how this state works. The judges do not weigh it. What moves everything is the condo. She is going to have to sign a sworn statement listing every asset she has. It is called a case information statement. Every account, every property, every dollar, under penalty of perjury. He said, she has 3 doors. She lists it and tells the truth, and half of it lands in the pot. She leaves it off and she hands me her credibility. Or she lists it and lies about where the money came from, and then she hands me everything. The one thing I asked him to lock down before anything else was our daughter's college account, and he wrote it into the first filing, and her side signed off on it before anything else got argued. He gave me one instruction: do not say the word condo to anybody until the court papers say it for you. I paid the retainer and I went back to work, and I unloaded ships while the paperwork got built. The next 3 weeks were the hardest work I have ever done. She was home for dinner more than usual that month. She talked about listings, about her sister's kitchen remodel, about our daughter's roommate drama, and I answered everything like a husband, and I gave her nothing. I started getting to the mailbox first every day on every shift, and it cost me sleep to do it. One Saturday, she beat me to it. I stood at the front window and watched my wife flip through the mail at the end of the driveway, envelope by envelope, and I was scared to death. Junk, a catalog, the water bill. She carried it all in and dropped it on the hall table and asked me if I wanted eggs. There was nothing in that stack for her to find, and she found nothing. There would not be another statement until next January, and if one came the January before, she got to the mailbox first that day, and I never knew it existed. Most nights that stretch, I was out in the garage with the boat, sanding the hole down. The first week of February, my lawyer filed adultery with the man named on the papers as co-respondent, and a request that the court look hard at where our married money had gone. The same week, my lawyer recorded a notice against the condo at the county, a notice with a Latin name, he said, which means the deed itself now says, this property is in a fight. Ask before you touch it. They were served the same afternoon. A process server put the papers in her hand at her broker's office at 1 o'clock, and a second server did the same thing to the man at his office 40 minutes later. I know the times to the minute because the court logs them. I was at the port when it happened, on a crane dock, with my phone in my locker. By the time I got to my car at 6, I had 41 missed calls, and not all of them were from my wife. I drove home and her car was in the driveway and every light in the house was on. She met me at the door with the papers in her hand, and her face was somewhere between crying and fighting. And she said, "You had them serve me at my office?" I said, "You had him at our refinance." She stopped, and I watched it land that I did not just know about the man, I knew the whole shape of it. She started with, "It is not what it looks like." Then she said, "The condo is an investment. We were going to flip it. It is a business arrangement, and you cannot prove anything else off a piece of paper." I told her to save it for the lawyers, and I slept in our daughter's old room. A little before midnight, my phone lit up with a text from a number I did not have saved. It said, "Can we talk man to man?" I looked at it twice, and I did not answer it. And in the morning, I forwarded it to my lawyer. He called me at lunch and said, "The co-respondent has a lawyer now." One evening in March, she was waiting for me on the porch steps when I got home from the docks. No papers, no phone, just her. And for a second, she looked like the woman from the open house years, and I hated how much that still worked on me. She said, "I will sign whatever you want. The house, the money, all of it. No fight. I just need you to take his name off the case." I said, "You are negotiating for him at my house?" She started to explain his business, his listings, how the naming was ruining him, and I walked past her and closed the door. And that was the last conversation we ever had that was not through lawyers. The first move after that did not even come from her side. It came from his. The man's lawyer called mine with an offer. His client would refinance the condo into his name alone, cover every closing cost, and there would be, and this is the phrase my lawyer repeated to me off his notes, a consideration for the inconvenience if we removed his name from the case. He was offering to buy his name off the papers. My lawyer said the offer could not even close, as written. The notice on the deed blocks a refinance the same as a sale. So, the only thing his money could actually buy was the name. My lawyer asked me what I wanted to do. I told him the name stays on everything, forever. And tell his lawyer I said no consideration required. 3 weeks later, they tried the quiet way instead. She lined up a cash buyer for the condo with no listing anywhere, a clean, fast closing. My lawyer figured she was betting on a cash buyer with no lawyer who would skip the title work, and she nearly found one. It got as far as the title search. The title company hit my lawyer's notice on the deed, froze the closing, and called every name on the file, which is how it landed on my lawyer's desk the same afternoon. She had taken a cash buyer all the way to a signed contract on a condo she was about to swear, under oath, my money never touched. My lawyer put the dead contract in the folder with everything else. For 2 weeks, we lived in the same house and said almost nothing, and then the sworn statements came due. The case information statement, every asset, every account, every property, listed under oath, both sides trade them. That is how the money part of a divorce starts here. Somewhere in those 2 weeks, my wife put our daughter on me. Our daughter called me from school crying, saying, "Mom told me you have lawyers dragging some man into this, Dad. She says you are trying to humiliate her." Hearing my daughter cry did more damage to me than everything in that envelope put together. But I did not argue the case to my kid. I told her, "Honey, I will never lie to you, and I am not going to fight with your mother through you. And when this is over, the paper will say what it says, and you can see every word of it." She was not happy with me. Our Sunday calls stopped after that, and I let them stop because the answer she needed was not something I could say yet. My statement took me one evening at the library. The house, the joint savings, my pension and annuity from the union, 2 cars, a boat I have been fixing up since our daughter was little. I listed every dollar, including the cash coffee can in the garage. My lawyer told me to list everything, down to the coffee can. Hers came back through her lawyer a week late. The house, her business account, her brokerage checking, her car, her retirement, and the condo listed at the bottom as a business investment, funded, the statement said, entirely from her commission income. She signed her name under oath to the story that my money never touched that condo, with the trail sitting in our own savings statements the whole time. My lawyer went through it twice, and then he smiled at his desk and he said, "Go to work. This part is mine." 2 days after her statement came in, my lawyer called me into his office, and this time he wanted me to see it built. He laid the pages out across his desk in a line, left to right. What he filed back, I did not fully understand until he walked me through it that afternoon. Her sworn statement with the savings statements attached behind it, page after page, every transfer flagged. The loan file, one subpoena away, because the man was a named party now. And the trail of the down payment, $40,000, moved out of our joint savings over 14 months, 500 at a time, sometimes 800, into her business account, labeled as staging costs and marketing, and out the other side into a closing. My money staged that condo. I sat in his office and looked at 20 years of my overtime, laid out in a paper trail with another man's address on the end of it, and I was not sad anymore. I was done. Her lawyer called my lawyer the same week and asked for a settlement conference. My lawyer told me later that on the phone, her lawyer's whole tone had changed because his client had lied under oath and we had attached the receipts. We never saw a courtroom for the money. There was one meeting in a conference room at her lawyer's office, and it lasted under 2 hours. Her side came in asking for limited alimony and her full retirement, and my lawyer put the sworn statement and the deed side by side on the table, and her lawyer asked for a recess before my lawyer finished laying the papers flat. The recess was supposed to be 10 minutes. It ran past 40, and when the door opened again, her lawyer came back into that room alone, and my wife stayed wherever she was, and the rest of it got settled between the lawyers with her signature showing up by email. The condo was marital property the day it was bought, and my share of what my money built came back to me. The man had a choice, sell the place or buy me out of it. He bought me out, and the same deal moved her half into his name too, and whatever he paid her for it, I never asked. $35,000 drawn on the mortgage man's own account to me for a condo I have never set foot in. It landed one day while I was on the dock, and my lawyer texted me 2 words, check cleared, and I finished my shift. The house went up for sale in the spring. We split it clean, and I signed my half of the papers on my lunch break at the port on the hood of my car. No alimony either direction. Her commissions were in those statements too, and the number said she needs nobody's help. The last day in court took 13 minutes. The judge asked if the grounds were contested, and her lawyer said no, and the judge signed. The divorce was final on the adultery, with the man's name printed on the judgment for anybody who ever pulls the file. Our daughter found out from her mother first, some version where the condo was a business deal, and I had overreacted with lawyers. Then, in June, the Sunday calls came back, and on the first one she asked me straight, "Dad, is it true there was another man?" I told her the truth in plain words, the statement, the deed, the 2 names, and none of the ugly extras, because her mother is still her mother. She went silent for a minute on the phone. Then she said, "I got a copy of the court file, Dad." My daughter had gone and gotten the file herself before she ever asked me, and she just needed to hear that I would not lie to her. She came home that summer and spent more of it with me than I expected, and she painted the boat with me, and we never made a thing of it. Most of what happened on my ex-wife's side after that, I heard through our daughter, who tells me more than I ask. The condo went up for sale in July. Her broker's office got the listing because the man wanted it gone and the office wanted the commission, and the office did not give the listing to my ex-wife. They gave it to the agent at the next desk. Two of the builders she represented moved their listings to other agents inside a month. And I only know that because one of those builders keeps his boat 2 slips down from mine. It sold in 9 days. I have never heard the man's voice, not once through the whole thing, and I never needed to. His money cleared just fine. His office sign came down that winter. My ex-wife rents now near her office, and she still sells houses. The house closed at the end of July, and she came for her things while I was at work, all but one load. The last thing she ever took out of my garage was a stack of her own yard signs, her face smiling off every one of them, and she came for those on a Saturday when I was home. I helped her load them. Neither one of us said anything, and she drove off. The boat went in the water in August, late, but in. Our daughter drove down for the first weekend it floated, and we took it out past the last channel marker, and she asked me if I was okay. I told her, "Kiddo, I am better than okay." In my opinion, this woman was not weak. She was organized. She did not fall into an affair. She ran one like a business, transfers, labels, a co-signer. 16 years of this man unloading ships, and she moved his overtime into another man's bed, $500 at a time. And when it all came apart, she did not come to that porch to fight for her marriage. She came to fight for her boyfriend's reputation. That tells me everything about where her husband ranked. Then she swore to a lie in writing in a court case with the proof sitting in her own bank statements. That is not a mistake. That is who she is. And the mortgage man might be worse. This coward sat in a working family's refinance, shook the husband's hand, and then used what he knew about their money to help her drain it. One cowardly text at midnight, and then he hired a lawyer. Then he tried to write a check to get his name off the papers, and when that failed, he wrote a bigger one to the husband he helped rob. Good. In my opinion, this husband gave them both exactly what they deserved, a public court file with both their names in it, forever. And he never raised his voice, and he never touched the man. He let the paperwork do all of it. 16 years, and she threw it away for a condo she could not even keep. 2 things: you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes, and she fucked around and found out. See you in the next one.